The vastness of space stretched out before the massive ship, stars twinkling like distant jewels against the inky blackness. On the bridge of the Imperial flagship Celestial Dominion, Admiral Zexor stood tall, his 4 arms crossed behind his back. His violet skin shimmered under the soft glow of the control panels, and his 3 eyes blinked in sequence as he surveyed the scene before him. "My lord," a junior officer spoke up, her voice trembling slightly. "We have entered the solar system as planned. The 3rd planet from the star is now visible on our long-range scanners." Zexor nodded, a small smile playing on his lips. "Excellent. Show me!" With a wave of her hand, the officer brought up a holographic display in the center of the bridge. A small blue-green orb appeared, spinning slowly on its axis. Clouds swirled across its surface, and the glint of oceans could be seen between land masses. "Earth," Zexor said, tasting the word. "Such a simple name for our next conquest." The Galactic Empire had been expanding for centuries, absorbing planet after planet into its ever-growing domain. Some worlds joined willingly, enticed by promises of advanced technology and protection. Others resisted and were swiftly brought to heel by the Empire's overwhelming military might. Earth was to be the latest addition to this grand collection of subjugated worlds. As the Celestial Dominion drew closer to Earth, Zexor couldn't help but feel a twinge of excitement. This planet was different from the others they had encountered. Intelligence reports spoke of a species called humans, bipedal creatures with a remarkably short history of technological advancement. And yet, in that brief time, they had managed to achieve spaceflight, global communication, and even rudimentary AI. It was impressive, in a quaint sort of way. "Prepare the first contact team," Zexor ordered. "I want our best diplomats and cultural experts ready to deploy within the hour." As his crew scrambled to obey, Zexor turned his attention back to the holographic display. He zoomed in on various parts of the planet, observing the sprawling cities, vast oceans, and diverse landscapes. It was a beautiful world, he had to admit. Soon it would all belong to the Empire. Meanwhile, on Earth, the day had started like any other. In New York City, people rushed to work, the streets buzzing with the usual morning traffic. In Tokyo, night was falling and neon signs flickered to life. In a small village in Africa, children played soccer in a dusty field, their laughter carried on the warm breeze. No one suspected that high above them, an alien armada was preparing to change their lives forever. The first sign that something was amiss came from an observatory in Chile. Dr. Maria Rodriguez was reviewing data from the previous night's observations when she noticed an anomaly. A cluster of objects, moving far too fast to be natural, was approaching Earth's orbit. "This can't be right," she muttered, double-checking her calculations. But the numbers didn't lie. Whatever these objects were, they were big, they were fast, and they were headed straight for Earth. With shaking hands, Dr. Rodriguez reached for her phone. Within hours, observatories and space agencies around the world had confirmed her findings. Emergency meetings were called, world leaders were briefed, and a sense of panic began to spread through those in the know. As the Celestial Dominion and its fleet entered Earth's orbit, they made no attempt to hide their presence. Massive ships, each one larger than the largest human city, took up positions around the planet. Their sleek, otherworldly designs gleamed in the sunlight, a stark contrast to the crude satellites and space stations that represented the pinnacle of human space technology. On Earth, chaos erupted. As the alien ships became visible to the naked eye, appearing as new, impossibly bright stars in the daytime sky, people reacted with a mix of fear, awe, and disbelief. Social media exploded with photos and videos of the ships. News channels abandoned their regular programming to provide round-the-clock coverage of the unfolding event. Religious leaders called for calm, while doomsday preppers smugly declared that their time had finally come. In Washington, D.C., President Sarah Chen sat in the Situation Room, surrounded by her top advisors and military leaders. The atmosphere was tense, the weight of humanity's fate heavy on everyone's shoulders. "Madam President," the Secretary of Defense spoke up, "we've detected a smaller craft breaking off from one of the larger ships. It appears to be on a descent trajectory towards here." Washington, D.C. President Chen took a deep breath, steeling herself. Any hostile actions? Negative, ma'am. They're broadcasting on all frequencies, but it's just static so far. No weapon signatures detected. She nodded, her mind racing. This was the moment that would define not just her presidency, but the entire course of human history. Prepare a welcome party, she said finally. But keep our forces on high alert. We'll meet these visitors with open arms, but we'll be damned if we're caught off guard. As world leaders scrambled to respond to the alien arrival, Admiral Zexor observed the unfolding chaos with amusement. These humans were so predictable, so easily rattled. It would make the coming subjugation all the easier. "My lord," his communications officer called out. "We're receiving transmissions from the planet. They're welcoming us." Asking for peaceful contact, Zexor chuckled. "How quaint. Prepare my shuttle. It's time we introduced ourselves to our new subjects." As the Imperial shuttle descended through Earth's atmosphere, escorted by a squadron of fighter craft, humans around the world watched with bated breath. In homes, offices, and public squares, all eyes were glued to screens showing the alien ship's approach. The shuttle landed with graceful precision on the National Mall in Washington, D.C., the white dome of the Capitol building serving as a backdrop. A crowd had gathered, held back by nervous police officers and military personnel. News helicopters circled overhead, their cameras zoomed in on the sleek, silvery craft that sat incongruously on the green lawn. For a moment, nothing happened. The world seemed to hold its breath. Then, with a soft hiss, a door on the shuttle slid open. A ramp extended to the ground, and out stepped Admiral Zexor, flanked by his advisors and guards. A collective gasp went up from the crowd. Zexor stood nearly 10 feet tall, his 4 arms and violet skin immediately marking him as utterly alien. His 3 eyes blinked in the bright sunlight as he surveyed the scene before him. President Chen stepped forward, her security detail tensed and ready. She extended a hand in greeting, a gesture that had been debated and decided upon in hurried meetings with xenobiologists and cultural experts. "On behalf of the people of Earth," she said, her voice steady despite the gravity of the moment, "I welcome you to our world." Zexor looked down at the proffered hand, then back at President Chen's face. A smile spread across his features, a smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. "Greetings, people of Earth," he said, his voice booming and somehow being understood by everyone present, regardless of language. "I am Admiral Zexor of the Galactic Empire. We have come to offer you a place among the stars." As cameras flashed and reporters babbled excitedly into their microphones, Zexor's smile grew wider. These humans had no idea what was in store for them. The Galactic Dabdaba, the Empire's term for their grand expansion, had come to Earth, and soon, very soon, this little blue planet would be just another jewel in the Empire's vast collection. But as Zexor looked out at the sea of human faces, he failed to notice something crucial. In the eyes of President Chen and in the eyes of millions watching around the world, there was a glint of something unexpected. It wasn't just fear or awe he saw reflected there. It was defiance. The Galactic Dabdaba had indeed reached Earth, but the Empire was about to learn that conquering this particular planet might not be as simple as they had imagined. The days following the arrival of the Galactic Empire were a whirlwind of activity. People around the world were glued to their screens, watching as humanity's first contact with alien life unfolded. The initial shock and awe had given way to a mix of excitement, fear, and uncertainty. In Washington, D.C., President Sarah Chen sat at her desk in the Oval Office, her brow furrowed in concentration. She had just finished another long meeting with Admiral Zexor, and something didn't feel right. The alien leader's words were friendly, but his eyes were cold and calculating. "They're hiding something," she muttered to herself. "But what?" A knock on the door interrupted her thoughts. "Come in," she called out. Her chief of staff, Michael Lee, entered the room. "Madam President, we've received reports from our intelligence agencies. You need to see this." He handed her a tablet, and as she read through the information, her face grew darker. The reports detailed strange activities around the world. Unexplained disappearances, sightings of alien craft in restricted airspace, and unusual energy readings from the Empire's ships. "They're not here as friends, are they?" President Chen asked, though she already knew the answer. Michael shook his head. "It doesn't look that way, ma'am." "What do you want to do?" President Chen stood up, a determined look in her eyes. "Call an emergency meeting of the United Nations. It's time we showed these aliens what human courage looks like." Meanwhile, in a small town in Kenya, a young girl named Amani was having a very different experience with the alien visitors. She had always dreamed of space and other worlds, and now those dreams were coming true right before her eyes. Amani sneaked out of her house early one morning, her backpack filled with snacks and her father's old binoculars. She made her way to a nearby hill, where she had a clear view of the alien ship hovering over Nairobi in the distance. As she watched the ship through her binoculars, she gasped. A smaller craft had detached from the main ship and was heading in her direction. Amani's heart raced with excitement and fear as the craft landed in a field not far from where she stood. To her amazement, a single alien figure emerged from the craft. It looked around cautiously before beginning to collect soil samples and plant specimens. Amani couldn't believe her luck. She was witnessing an alien scientist at work. Gathering her courage, Amani approached the alien. "Hello," she called out softly. The alien jumped, startled by her presence. It regarded her with curiosity, its 3 eyes blinking rapidly. "I'm Amani," she continued, pointing to herself. "What's your name?" The alien seemed to understand. It pointed to itself and made a series of clicks and whistles that Amani couldn't hope to replicate. Amani giggled. "I think I'll call you Whistle," she said. Over the next hour, Amani and Whistle engaged in a strange but friendly interaction. Whistle showed Amani some of its equipment, and Amani shared her snacks, which Whistle politely declined. Despite the language barrier, they managed to communicate through gestures and drawings in the dirt. As Whistle prepared to leave, it hesitated. Then, to Amani's surprise, it handed her a small glowing crystal. Amani's eyes widened as she took the gift, feeling a warm, tingling sensation in her hand. "Thank you," she said, clutching the crystal to her chest. Whistle made a series of soft clicks that somehow sounded sad. It looked at Amani for a long moment before turning and entering its craft. As the ship took off, Amani waved goodbye, unaware of the significance of what had just transpired. Back in New York, the United Nations General Assembly was in an uproar. President Chen had just finished delivering a passionate speech, revealing the true nature of the Empire's visit and calling for a united human response. "We cannot allow ourselves to be deceived or intimidated," she declared. "The Galactic Empire may have advanced technology, but we have something they clearly lack: the courage to stand up for our freedom and our right to self-determination." The assembly hall erupted in cheers and applause. Even nations that were usually at odds with each other found themselves in agreement. Humanity would not bow down to alien overlords, no matter how powerful they might be. As the human leaders debated their next move, Admiral Zexor received the news of the UN's defiance with rage. He paced the bridge of the Celestial Dominion, his violet skin darkening with anger. "Ungrateful primitives," he snarled. "They dare to reject our generous offer?" His second-in-command, Sub-Admiral Vex, approached cautiously. "My lord, perhaps we underestimated these humans. They seem to possess a spirit that we haven't encountered before." Zexor whirled on Vex. "Spirit? Ah! They are insects compared to our might. Prepare the subjugation fleet. We'll show these humans the price of defiance." As Vex hurried to carry out the orders, a junior science officer named Zill stood frozen at her station. She was the alien that Amani had nicknamed Whistle, and her encounter with the human child had left her deeply troubled. These humans were not the simple, primitive beings that the Empire had described. They were curious, kind, and far more complex than anyone had realized. Zill knew she had to do something, but what could one low-ranking officer do against the might of the Galactic Empire? On Earth, preparations for resistance were already underway. In labs and workshops around the world, scientists and engineers worked tirelessly to understand and reverse engineer any alien technology they could get their hands on. In a secret facility beneath the streets of Tokyo, Dr. Hiroshi Tanaka made a breakthrough. He had been studying a piece of alien alloy, trying to understand its properties. As he ran yet another test, his equipment suddenly sparked and shorted out. But in that brief moment before the machines died, Dr. Tanaka saw something incredible. The alloy had reacted to the electrical surge in a way that defied the laws of physics as he understood them. "It's not just advanced technology," he whispered in awe. "It's like they're using different laws of physics entirely." This realization spread quickly among the scientific community. If they could understand and harness these new principles, humanity might stand a chance against the Empire's superior technology. As tensions rose and both sides prepared for conflict, individuals around the world found their own ways to resist. Hackers launched attacks on alien communication systems, causing confusion and delays in the Empire's plans. Artists created powerful works that boosted morale and united people across cultural divides. In a small apartment in Rio de Janeiro, a group of teenagers huddled around a computer. They had managed to intercept and partially decode some of the Empire's transmissions. "Look at this," said Maria, pointing at the screen. "They're talking about some kind of energy source. Something they need to power their ships and weapons." Her friend Carlos leaned in for a closer look. "Wait a minute. These coordinates. Isn't that somewhere in the Amazon?" The teenagers looked at each other, eyes wide with the implications of their discovery. They had stumbled upon a crucial piece of information, one that could change the course of the coming conflict. As news of small acts of resistance and important discoveries spread around the world, a sense of hope began to grow. Humans from all walks of life in every corner of the globe were coming together in ways they never had before. The Galactic Empire had come to Earth expecting an easy conquest. Instead, they found a species united in its diversity, bound together by courage and an indomitable spirit. The real battle was about to begin, and humanity was ready to show the galaxy what it was made of. In Kenya, Amani clutched her glowing crystal, unaware of the role she would soon play in the greatest conflict Earth had ever faced. In New York, world leaders put aside their differences to form a united front. And in space, aboard the Celestial Dominion, a conflicted alien named Zill made a decision that would alter the fate of two civilizations. The stage was set. Humanity's courage was about to be tested like never before, and the galaxy would never be the same. The mood aboard the Celestial Dominion was tense. Admiral Zexor stood before a massive holographic display, his violet skin darkening with anger as he watched the humans' acts of defiance unfold across the planet below. "Impudent creatures," he snarled, his 4 arms clenched into fists. "They dare to resist the mighty Galactic Empire?" Sub-Admiral Vex approached cautiously. "My lord, perhaps we should reconsider our approach. These humans seem more resilient than we anticipated." Zexor whirled on his subordinate, eyes flashing dangerously. "Reconsider? Never! It's time we showed these primitives the true might of the Empire. Prepare the cosmic hammer!" As Vex hurried to carry out the order, a chill ran through the bridge crew. The cosmic hammer was one of the Empire's most terrifying weapons, a device capable of creating localized natural disasters on a planetary scale. Its use was reserved only for the most stubborn of resistances. Meanwhile, on Earth, the united human resistance was gaining momentum. In a heavily guarded underground facility beneath the Rocky Mountains, President Sarah Chen met with a team of the world's brightest minds. "What's our status?" she asked, her voice tired but determined. Dr. Hiroshi Tanaka stepped forward, his eyes bright with excitement despite the dark circles beneath them. "Madam President, we've made significant progress in understanding the alien technology. Their energy systems operate on principles we're only beginning to grasp, but we're learning quickly." A young Brazilian hacker named Carlos chimed in next. "And we've managed to crack more of their communication codes. We can now intercept about 60% of their transmissions." President Chen nodded, a glimmer of hope in her eyes. "Excellent work, all of you. But I fear we're running out of time. Our sources suggest the Empire is planning something big." As if on cue, alarms began blaring throughout the facility. A communications officer burst into the room, face pale. Madam President, we're receiving a transmission from the alien fleet. It's being broadcast worldwide. On screens across the globe, Admiral Zexor's imposing figure appeared. His voice boomed in every language, a feat of advanced translation technology. "People of Earth," he began, his tone dripping with condescension. "Your pathetic attempts at resistance amuse us, but playtime is over. You have 24 Earth hours to surrender unconditionally to the Galactic Empire. Failure to comply will result in a demonstration of our power." The transmission cut off abruptly, leaving billions of humans in stunned silence. In Kenya, young Amani clutched her alien crystal, fear and determination warring in her heart. The crystal had been glowing more brightly lately, pulsing in time with her heartbeat. Somehow, she knew it was important, but she didn't know why. Making a decision, Amani slipped out of her house and began running towards the nearest city. She had to find someone who could help her understand the crystal's significance. Back in the Celestial Dominion, Junior Science Officer Zil, known to Amani as Whistle, was in turmoil. She knew the devastation the cosmic hammer could wreak, and the thought of it being used on the vibrant, diverse world she had briefly explored filled her with dread. Taking a deep breath, Zil made her decision. She approached a computer terminal and began rapidly inputting commands, her three eyes darting nervously to ensure no one was watching. On Earth, as the 24-hour deadline ticked away, humanity's leaders debated their response. Some argued for surrender, hoping to spare their people from the Empire's wrath. Others insisted on continued resistance, unwilling to give up their freedom without a fight. In the end, it was an impassioned speech from an unexpected source that tipped the scales. Amani, having finally reached a military outpost, found herself face to face with a group of skeptical officers. But as she held up her crystal, its glow intensifying, the room fell silent. "Please," she said, her voice small but steady. "I met one of them. They're not all bad. This crystal, I think it's trying to tell us something." As if in response, the crystal projected a holographic image detailed schematics of the cosmic hammer. Thousands of miles away, in the Rocky Mountain facility, alarms blared once again. Carlos shouted in excitement. "We're receiving a massive data dump from the alien fleet. Someone on the inside is feeding us information." Dr. Tanaka's eyes widened as he scanned the incoming data. This is incredible. With this, we might have a chance to counter their weapon." As scientists and engineers around the world raced to analyze the new information, political leaders came to a consensus. Humanity would not bow to the Empire's demands. With just minutes left before the ultimatum expired, President Chen addressed the world. "People of Earth," she began, her voice steady and resolute, "today we face the greatest threat our species has ever encountered. The Galactic Empire demands our surrender. They threaten us with destruction if we refuse." She paused, her gaze sweeping across the camera. "But we will not yield. We will not surrender our freedom, our dignity, our very humanity to these invaders. United, we stand against this threat. United, we declare no entry for the Galactic Empire." Cheers erupted in streets and homes across the planet. Humanity had made its choice. As the deadline passed, Admiral Zexor's face contorted with rage. "So be it," he snarled. "Activate the cosmic hammer. Target their largest city." But as the crew moved to comply, nothing happened. The cosmic hammer remained silent. "What is the meaning of this?" Zexor roared. Sub-Admiral Vex's voice shook as he replied, "My lord, our systems are not responding. It appears we've been hacked." On Earth, Carlos pumped his fist in triumph. "We did it!" Their weapon systems are offline, but the celebration was short-lived. Dr. Tanaka's voice cut through the cheers. "We've bought some time, but it won't last forever. We need to prepare for their next move." In Kenya, Amani watched in awe as her crystal's glow intensified. Somehow, she knew that the alien who had given it to her Whistle had played a part in this small victory. Aboard the Celestial Dominion, Zil allowed herself a small smile. Her act of rebellion had worked, at least for now. But she knew the fight was far from over. Admiral Zexor, his plans thwarted, paced the bridge like a caged animal. "Prepare for planetary assault," he growled. If we can't break their spirit from orbit, we'll do it on the ground. As the Empire's ships began their descent towards Earth, humanity steeled itself for the battle to come. They had faced the Galactic ultimatum and stood firm. Now, the real test of their courage and ingenuity was about to begin. In every corner of the globe, humans from all walks of life prepared to defend their home. Scientists raced to unlock the secrets of alien technology. Soldiers readied their weapons, now enhanced with reverse-engineered alien tech, and ordinary citizens found extraordinary courage within themselves. The Galactic Empire had come expecting an easy conquest. Instead, they found a united planet, standing defiant in the face of overwhelming odds. The battle for Earth was about to begin, and humanity was ready to show the galaxy what it meant to be human. As the alien ships breached the atmosphere, their hulls glowing from the heat of entry, a single phrase echoed across the planet. From the highest halls of power to the humblest homes, no entry for the Galactic Empire. The ultimatum had failed. Now the real war would begin. As the Galactic Empire's ships descended through Earth's atmosphere, the planet below was a hive of activity. Humanity had made its stand, and now it was time to prepare for the fight of their lives. In the underground facility beneath the Rocky Mountains, President Sarah Chen stood before a group of world leaders, generals, and top scientists. The room buzzed with nervous energy. "Ladies and gentlemen," she began, her voice steady despite the weight on her shoulders, "the enemy is at our doorstep, but we have something they don't expect: unity, ingenuity, and an unbreakable spirit. Now, let's hear our battle plan." Dr. Hiroshi Tanaka stepped forward, his usually calm demeanor replaced by barely contained excitement. "Thanks to the data provided by our mysterious alien ally, we've made significant breakthroughs in understanding their technology. We've managed to adapt some of our existing weapons with this new knowledge." He pressed a button, and a holographic display sprang to life, showing a familiar fighter jet with strange, glowing additions. "This is the F-35X. We've equipped it with a reverse-engineered alien energy shield and plasma cannons. It should be able to go toe-to-toe with their fighters." A murmur of approval ran through the room. For the first time since the invasion began, hope flickered in the eyes of Earth's leaders. Meanwhile, in a makeshift lab in Nairobi, young Amani sat surrounded by a team of scientists. The alien crystal she had received from Whistle lay on a table, pulsing with an otherworldly light. "It's extraordinary," one scientist muttered, running a scanner over the crystal. "It seems to be some kind of quantum entanglement device. It's communicating with something in orbit, possibly on one of the alien ships." Amani's eyes widened. "Can we use it to talk to them? Maybe there are more aliens like Whistle who want to help us." The scientists exchanged glances. It was a risky idea, but in times like these, risks were necessary. Across the globe, similar scenes of preparation unfolded. In the streets of every major city, civilians worked alongside soldiers to set up barricades and emergency shelters. Hospitals stocked up on supplies, preparing for the worst. Farmers and factories ramped up production, knowing that a well-fed population was crucial for the coming struggle. In Silicon Valley, a team led by Carlos, the young Brazilian hacker, worked tirelessly to strengthen Earth's digital defenses. They had already proven they could hack alien systems, but now they needed to protect their own. "We need to think outside the box," Carlos said, his fingers flying over his keyboard. "Their tech is advanced, but it's also different. That means they might not be prepared for good old-fashioned human ingenuity." His team nodded, diving back into their work with renewed vigor. They were Earth's digital guardians, and they wouldn't let their planet down. In orbit, aboard the Celestial Dominion, Admiral Zexor was furious. The humans' unexpected resistance had thrown his carefully laid plans into chaos. "How is this possible?" he raged, pacing the bridge. "They're primitives!" "They should be cowering in fear, not preparing for war." Sub-Admiral Vex approached cautiously. "My lord, our latest scans show they've somehow adapted some of our technology. And there's something else. We've detected a quantum signal emanating from the planet's surface. It matches the frequency of our comm systems." Zexor's eyes narrowed. "A traitor," he hissed. "Find the source of that signal. Whoever is helping these humans will pay dearly." Unaware of the danger heading her way, Amani was making a breakthrough of her own. With the help of the scientists, she had managed to establish a shaky communication link through the crystal. "Hello?" she called out, her voice trembling with a mix of fear and excitement. "Whistle, are you there?" For a moment, there was only static. Then, a familiar series of clicks and whistles came through, resolving into words through the crystal's translation matrix. "Amani, is that you? Oh, thank the stars. Listen carefully, we don't have much time." As Whistle, whose real name was Zill, quickly explained the Empire's battle plans, Amani's eyes grew wide. She turned to the scientists. "Quick! We need to tell the president!" Back in the Rocky Mountain facility, the war room was a flurry of activity. Screens showed the positions of the descending alien ships, their trajectories plotting out the Empire's invasion plan. Suddenly, a lieutenant burst in. "Madam President, we're receiving a transmission from Nairobi. They say it's urgent, something about insider information on the enemy's plans." As the information from Amani and Zill was relayed, the room fell silent. Then a general spoke up. "This changes everything. If this information is correct, we can set up a trap." President Chen nodded, her eyes gleaming with determination. "Then that's exactly what we'll do. Humanity has been backed into a corner, but that's when we're at our most dangerous. It's time to show the Empire what happens when you underestimate Earth." Over the next few hours, Earth's defenses shifted. What had looked like chaos to the invading forces was, in fact, a carefully orchestrated dance. Troops and weapons were moved into position, guided by the insider knowledge provided by Zill. In cities around the world, civilians played their part too. What the Empire saw as panicked evacuation was actually a well-planned operation to move non-combatants to safety while leaving behind booby traps and ambush points. As the first wave of alien dropships entered the lower atmosphere, they were met not by disorganized resistance, but by a coordinated global defense network. F-35X fighters screamed through the sky, their alien-enhanced weapons tearing through the invaders' shields. On the ground, tanks equipped with reverse-engineered plasma cannons stood ready, their crews grim-faced but determined. Admiral Zexor watched in disbelief as his first wave was decimated. "Impossible!" he roared. How could they have known exactly where we'd attack? In a quiet corner of the celestial dominion, Zill allowed herself a small smile. Her act of rebellion had given humanity a fighting chance. Now, it was up to them to make the most of it. As battles raged across the globe, humanity's spirit shone through. In New York, a group of construction workers used their equipment to bring down an alien walker. In the streets of Tokyo, elderly martial arts masters led guerrilla attacks against alien ground troops, their ancient skills proving surprisingly effective against the high-tech invaders. In orbit, Earth's hastily upgraded satellite network came to life, creating a web of electronic countermeasures that confused and disoriented the Empire's ships. Carlos and his team of hackers worked tirelessly, their fingers dancing across keyboards as they fought a digital war against the alien AI. "Remember," Carlos called out to his team, "we're not just protecting computers. We're protecting homes, families, our entire way of life." As the first day of the invasion drew to a close, Earth had bloodied the Empire's nose. The aliens had expected an easy conquest, but instead found themselves embroiled in a bitter struggle against a united, determined humanity. In the Rocky Mountain War Room, President Chen allowed herself a moment of cautious optimism. "We've survived the first wave," she said to her advisors. "But this is just the beginning. Tomorrow, we take the fight to them." Across the planet, as humans bedded down in shelters or manned night-watch positions, a sense of fierce pride took hold. They had stood against the mightiest empire in the galaxy and held their ground. The Galactic Empire had brought its full might to bear on Earth, but humanity's preparation had turned the tide. The battle for Earth was far from over, but one thing was clear: this small blue planet would not fall easily. As the sun set on the first day of the invasion, a new saying began to spread among Earth's defenders. "They have the stars, but we have the spirit." Earth stands united. The real test was yet to come, but Earth was ready. The Galactic Empire was about to learn a harsh lesson about underestimating the human spirit. The dawn of the seventh day broke over a battered but unbroken Earth. For a week, the planet had withstood the might of the Galactic Empire, surprising both the invaders and themselves with their resilience and ingenuity. In the skies above New York, Paris, and Tokyo, the sleek shapes of alien fighters clashed with Earth's upgraded F-35X jets. Beams of energy crisscrossed the air, painting the clouds with brief, brilliant flashes of light. On the ground, the streets of major cities had become battlefields. Overturned cars and hastily erected barricades formed a maze through which human resistance fighters played a deadly game of cat and mouse with alien ground troops. In the Rocky Mountain Command Center, President Sarah Chen studied the global holographic display, her face etched with fatigue, but her eyes burning with determination. "Status report," she commanded. General Rodriguez stepped forward. "Madam President, we're holding our own, but just barely. Our adapted shield technology has kept most of our major cities intact, but we're losing ground in Asia and Europe. The enemy's numbers are overwhelming." Dr. Hiroshi Tanaka cleared his throat. "There's something else. We've detected a massive energy buildup in the enemy flagship. Whatever they're planning, it's big." President Chen's jaw tightened. "Then we need to end this now. What's the status of Operation Slingshot?" Carlos, the young hacker who had become an integral part of Earth's defense, spoke up. "We're ready on our end. The virus is prepped and ready to deploy." But what?" Chen pressed. Carlos hesitated. "We need to get it into their main system. Our usual hacking methods won't cut it. Someone needs to physically upload it into the flagship's central computer." A heavy silence fell over the room. It was a suicide mission, and everyone knew it. Suddenly, a voice crackled over the comm system. "This is Nairobi base. We have a volunteer for the upload mission." The screen flickered to life, showing a familiar face. It was Amani, the young girl who had first made contact with their alien ally. "I'll do it," Amani said, her voice small but steady. "Whistle. Zil can guide me through the ship. The crystal will let us communicate." President Chen shook her head. "Absolutely not. You're just a child." "We can't, with all due respect, Madam President," Amani interrupted. "I'm the best chance we've got. The crystal connects me to Zil. No one else can do this." In orbit, aboard the Celestial Dominion, Admiral Zexor was reaching the end of his patience. The human resistance had proved far more troublesome than anticipated. "Enough of this," he snarled. "Prepare the stellar obliterator. We'll wipe this miserable planet clean and start over with the next one." Sub-Admiral Vex's eyes widened in shock. "But, sir, the stellar obliterator will destroy all life on the planet. Surely we can. Are you questioning my orders?" Zexor roared. Vex fell silent, but a look of resolve settled over his features. He'd stood by and watched atrocities before. But this was too much. As the massive weapon began to power up, a small, stealthy craft detached from the underbelly of the Celestial Dominion. Inside, Amani clutched her crystal, her heart pounding. "Are you sure about this?" Zil's voice came through the crystal, concern evident in her alien tones. Amani nodded, then remembered Zil couldn't see her. "Yes, my whole life I dreamed of exploring the stars. I never imagined it would be like this, but this is my chance to make a difference. To save my home." The small craft, piloted remotely by Carlos, threaded its way through the chaos of the space battle. F-35Xs engaged alien fighters, drawing fire away from Amani's ship. Meanwhile, on Earth, humanity launched its final desperate gambit. In laboratories around the world, scientists activated devices reverse-engineered from the alien crystal. They broadcast a signal, reaching out to the stars. "What are they doing?" Zexor demanded, watching the strange energy readings on his screens. Vex studied the data, his eyes widening in realization. "They're calling for help, sir. They're reaching out to other species in the galaxy." Zexor laughed cruelly. "Let them. No one will dare stand against the Empire." But even as he spoke, new signals began to appear. From nearby star systems, ships of various designs began to emerge from hyperspace. The oppressed races of the galaxy, long cowed by the Empire's might, had heard Earth's call, and they had answered. As a motley fleet of alien allies engaged the Empire's ships, Amani's craft slipped unnoticed into a docking bay of the Celestial Dominion. Guided by Zill's instructions, she made her way through the massive ship's corridors. "The main computer core is just ahead," Zill's voice crackled through the crystal. "But be careful. There are guards." Zill's warning was cut short as Amani rounded a corner and came face to face with Admiral Zexor himself. For a moment, they stared at each other in shock. Then Zexor's face contorted with rage. "You!" he snarled, recognizing the crystal in Amani's hand. "You're the one who's been helping these humans!" He lunged for Amani, but years of playing soccer in the dusty fields of her village had made her quick. She ducked under his grasp and sprinted towards the computer core. "Zill!" she shouted into the crystal. "I need help." Suddenly, the ship's internal defenses came to life. Doors slammed shut behind Amani, cutting off Zexor's pursuit. Zill's voice came through the crystal, strained but triumphant. "I've locked down the ship's systems. Hurry, Amani! Upload the virus!" With trembling hands, Amani connected the crystal to the main computer. The virus that Carlos and his team had created sprang to life, tearing through the Empire's systems. All across the flagship and then spreading to the entire Imperial fleet, systems began to fail. Weapons went offline, shields flickered and died, and engines sputtered to a halt. On Earth, in space, and aboard the alien ships that had come to humanity's aid, cheers erupted as the mighty Empire's fleet hung helpless in space. In the Celestial Dominion's bridge, Zexor watched in disbelief as his great armada was defeated not by superior firepower, but by the courage and ingenuity of those he had dismissed as primitive. Sub-Admiral Vex stepped forward, flanked by other crew members. "Sir," he said firmly, "I think it's time we discussed surrender terms." As the sun set on the final day of battle, news of victory spread across Earth. Humanity had faced its greatest challenge and emerged triumphant. But they knew it was not their victory alone. In a grand ceremony broadcast around the world and to their new alien allies, President Chen stood side by side with Amani, Zill, and representatives from the races that had come to Earth's aid. "Today," Chen declared, her voice ringing with pride and hope, "we take our place among the stars, not as conquerors like those who sought to subjugate us, but as friends, allies, and fellow seekers of knowledge and peace." Amani stepped forward, the crystal glowing warmly in her hand. "We declared no entry to those who came as invaders," she said, her young voice carrying the wisdom of her incredible experiences. "But to those who come in friendship, we say, welcome to Earth." As cheers erupted from the crowd, humans and aliens alike, a new chapter in galactic history began. Earth had proven that courage, unity, and an indomitable spirit were forces that could reshape the very stars themselves.